a publisher, and one day my daughter Christina asked me to write a novel with her. Well, that day was long ago, and that little girl is now an adult. But our novels live on. The Truth Seekers Mystery Series highlights a homeschool family, the Murphy teens, in an action-adventure novel that is sure to entertain as well as teach creation truths. To get your copy, visit our website at truthseekersmysteryseries.com.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey everyone, and welcome. My name is Felice Gerwitz, and today we are going to talk about last-minute Thanksgiving treats. This is episode 482, and you can find today's podcast at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Well, with Thanksgiving just around the corner, I wanted to give you some last-minute Thanksgiving treats that are sure to please. The key is ease and using things you may have around the house that won't be too costly. I have had the pleasure of hosting my family for many, many years. At one point, my mother-in-law would take turns with my parents in celebrating Thanksgiving. And then, as they started getting older and my parents moved into the same town where we all lived, I decided with my husband that we would have everyone for Thanksgiving dinner together. All of our holidays are pretty much open door policy. And so we have family, extended family, and even friends who drop in who don't have anywhere to go. And that's happened in past Thanksgivings. I also wanted to remind you before I jump in and get started that you can visit mediaangels.com for wonderful novels for your homeschooled students or any students. The wholesome Truth Seekers Mystery Series, as well as the book A Few Minutes with God, are available for immediate download, or you can order the print books just in time for gift giving. I have a store on the mediaangels.com website, and you can order these books from Amazon. Well, let's get to it. I'm all about preparing ahead of time, and yet sometimes I look at the calendar and I stress, I just need one more week. Does that ever happen to you when you're going on a trip or you're doing something that's timely? You just wish you had just one more week, and you look at the calendar and go, oh my gosh, how did all those weeks fly by? All I had last time I looked was 3 weeks, and now Thanksgiving is, a few days away. The other day I was writing a check and somehow I wrote down August instead of November, and I have no idea why I even did that. Sometimes I feel like I'm not even in the right month. I mean, I caught myself going, wait a minute, that's not right. But it was just like, almost like a defense mechanism. My mind was saying, okay, let me give you a few more months to plan. So one of the things I'm going to say is if you haven't already planned, and I want you to just relax, grab a nice cup of calming tea. Raspberry tea is my choice when I need to calm down, and just make a list. And I used to hate lists. In fact, I would make lists and then go off of what I remembered on my list without actually looking at it. And now I wonder, where is that list? So a lot of times I take pictures of it on my phone so I'll have it and I won't leave it at home. I know there's all kinds of apps. In fact, on the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network, you can listen to Meryl's podcast, and she's got the techie one, and she's got lots of stuff and lists and different apps that you can use for grocery lists and things like that. But I keep some things on hand always that are available to me for these last minute things. So one of the things I keep on hand is an unflavored plain yogurt, Greek yogurt. I keep on hand cream cheese, and of course, the normal things like, whatever, baking stuff like, butter, eggs, and sugar, milk, all that stuff. But the cream cheese and the unflavored yogurt that can be used also with, as a substitute for sour cream have really helped me. I also keep some of those little mixes around for dips. Some people like them, some people don't, but I'm going to share some things with you that I have, used very successfully. So I look for things that are not going to be hard to prep or that you don't need to bake. Something easy. So I'll do something like a refrigerator treat, dips and chip, finger foods, pre-made foods, and fruit platters. And whenever I have a diverse group of guests like babies to 60 or 70-year-olds, I want to have a variety of things that even the little ones are going to enjoy. So I found that fruit fits that bill. And it actually came courtesy of an extended family member. My daughter's mother-in-law makes a wonderful fruit platter. It's a mixture of cut up fruits, and sometimes she brings them prepackaged and already cut up, and she serves them with a fruit fluff. And it's super easy. It consists of an 8-ounce package of cream cheese that she, either softens or whips together, and a jar of marshmallow cream. It's easy, festive looking, and best of all the kids and adults love it. And she doesn't even put it together till she gets to my house. She has the fruit fluff ready, but she'll come to the house and even bring her own tray, and we make room for her in the kitchen, and she does that. And it's great. And it's something that, all the kids love and the adults as well. And then salty treats. You can take sliced cheese or use firm cheese slices and sandwich it between mini pretzels. And you can bake this on parchment paper. Again, it's only if you're going to have room in the oven. If you don't, skip this, and you can just serve it cold. And it's super good. You can serve it with spiced or regular mustard, and that is super yummy. One of my favorite things, and I swear I make this just for me, is to get a small jar of pepper jelly or a big jar of pepper jelly. Now, be careful when you scoop things out, like even strawberry jelly or something like that. I make everyone just use a specific spoon for that thing, and then I store it way back in the refrigerator if it's not used often, and then when I open the jar, there's not mold in there. So I can keep it for months at a time, and so I'll take like a 4-ounce cream cheese, and I'll just soften it briefly in the microwave after I've poured on a generous amount of pepper jelly on top. And then it's super yummy. You can serve it with a little knife and all kinds of crackers, and even the kids like it. And then one of my favorites that does have to be baked is the Gouda cheese wrapped in crescent rolls. I buy half a pack of crescent rolls, and so there's just 4 in a pack, and I lay them end to end and to make it a little square, and then I place the round Gouda on top, and I cover it with more of the crescent roll. And then those are the things I leave aside to bake when I'm in between, other things, because if you only have one oven and you've got the turkey in there, it is a problem. But this is something you can do in a little toaster oven, and that works really well. And I keep it in the refrigerator a couple of days before. I've already got it ready to go, and then I take it out and pop it in the oven for 350, and it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. The cheese is going to be warm and gooey, and the rolls light and fluffy. And you may want to make 2 of them. I have been shocked at how much the round Gouda cheese costs. So I found a big square of it one time, more of a wedge. And I just cut the wedge and, made it work, because, yes, it wasn't as pretty as little round Gouda, but it was, the stuff just starts getting expensive. Another thing you can do, but this is a same-day prep, so it does not store well, and that is dipping things into chocolate. So what does not store well are strawberries. But I was at the store the other day, and one large strawberry dipped in chocolate was $2.50. Friends, I can make this for you for like $2 for 12 of them, or probably less than that, using half a bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use semi-sweet. Ghirardelli is my favorite. Some of you like, different brands. Costco or even Sam's, they have their own brand of chocolate, and sometimes that's just as good. And you just take some chocolate, stick it in a little glass dish and put it in the microwave, and you can burn chocolate. Ask me how I know. And then just stir it up with the fork. And then you can dip fruit. You do, if you're doing strawberries, leave the tops on them, wash them really well, lay them out on paper towels or a cloth, and pat them dry or just let them air dry. They do need to be dry when you dip them, or the chocolate will come off. And then I just put them on a cookie sheet with parchment paper, and we're set to go. All of this is in the show notes for today's episode. You can go to vintagehomeschoolmoms.com, episode 482, and take a look. And then there are so many other things to dip in chocolate, and that is, big marshmallows. You can just dip half of it in chocolate. In fact, the other day, my son went to the store and brought 3 packs of marshmallows. I'm like, what do you, he did buy stuff for s'mores. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I want you to dip some of these in chocolate. The kids like it just for a snack. You can dip pretzels and graham crackers and all kinds of different things. And again, it's super easy. And actually, this keeps really well. Sometimes I'll do some melted chocolate and some of our favorite nuts and just put them in the tiny little white, I call them the little cupcake things, but they're just little white individual gosh, I don't even help me out, guys. What's it called? Anyway, they're like the cupcake liners, but they're very small for candy. And I have like a big thing of them, and I just keep them in the drawer where I keep all our goodies. And then I make a lot of homemade things. So you can, make your own candies, and people will love them. Or guess what? If you're in a hurry, go buy it. Buy chocolate dip pretzels or white chocolate pretzels or, whatever that is. But we're trying to save money here. So if you can do some of this stuff ahead of time, that would be great. And then once they set, I live in Florida, so everything has to set in the fridge. Then I can take them out and pop them in a plastic bag, or I sometimes, if I have leftover strawberries, which is very rare, I will put them in like a glass container. The next day they're okay, but the strawberries get juicy, so they're just not as pretty. They still taste yummy. Of course, there's all kinds of things like dips that you can make, veggies or pita chips. You can use prepared guacamole or salsa or homemade salsa. There are a ton of recipes online, and I actually put the Knorr, the KNORR packaged seasoning, their official website link, which you can look them up yourself. But I put them in the show notes because they have a ton of great things that you can do with their dips. And I used to make a spinach dip that was really good. And then we found one that's already made for us at one of the big stores that we like. And so when my kids are home, the older ones, I usually keep that on hand. When they're not at home, I don't keep it on hand because I don't want to eat it. So, and then, some of the packaged things like that go really quickly. And like you can even make a spinach dip with some of it. And anyway, you can go look up that recipe. Another recipe I'm going to share with you is one for meatballs. And I am Italian, and believe me, I can make meatballs. But I'm going to tell you, too, that when I was a kid, I didn't like meatballs. And I finally found out the reason I didn't was my parents used to put so much breadcrumb in them. So I found a recipe I liked, but I adapted it to what I wanted. And I'm going to share that with you again. It's going to be on my website. And so the big key here is getting 3 different types of meat, and that's beef, pork, and veal. Ground veal is tricky and hard to find, especially where I live. But if you can make it with those three meats, and if you can't find the veal, I've made it with just the ground beef and the like equal parts of ground beef and equal parts of pork. And then, I can do like 2 pounds of each. And if for every pound I add 1 egg, so I try to make recipes really easy. So like for every pound I add 1 egg, so that would be 2 pounds, right? A pound of veal, a pound of ground beef, a pound of pork. And then, so you would add 3 eggs, or 2 if you're just doing the 2 meats. And then I add 1/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs for each pound, which is very little, and 1/4 of a cup of Romano cheese. I am really big on the Romano over the Parmesan for like 100 different reasons. And I also get them at a specialty store. So if you have a deli or an Italian deli would be preferable. They have really good cheese. And that's one of the tricks to making this. And then at least 1/2 cup. So that's 1/4 of a cup for each pound. So if you're doing 3 types of meat, you're going to want a little bit more of fresh minced parsley. And that's it. You mix all that together and it is super yummy. And another one that I like that was very similar is the Bobby Flay meatball recipe. And I'm not going to list that on my website because I don't want any copyright infringements. And I believe it's in one of his cookbooks. But that's really comparable to what I make. So, you can go check his out. And I don't remember what else he had in there, but it's really good. And my go-to favorites are pulling things out of my freezer, such as small cakes I've baked ahead of time, or I'll use, small rounds of assorted cupcakes. So I'll make those and then I'll pop them out of the little container and then I'll freeze those and then you can quickly frost them when you want to serve them. So cakes are one of the things that freeze really, really well. And I do cheat and I use a box mix. I have tried making my own cakes and I've even used cake flour. And I think there's something in the box mix that I must have grown up liking because I can make homemade cheesecake and homemade cookies that I like so much better. But there's something about that box mix for cakes that I just like. So, and then you can serve things such as, the frosted cakes with raspberry or strawberries and whipped cream on the side. And so that really, really helps a lot if you can get those things prepped way ahead of time. If you can't, guess what? Just go buy something or have your guests bring something. For many years, I didn't have my guests bring a whole lot of things because I wanted them to just come and relax. But I learned later on that not only was I giving myself so much more work, but secondly, they enjoyed sharing something like Grandma Nancy, my daughter's mother-in-law. She enjoyed sharing something that she made special for the kids. And so, allow other people to bring things, and it also is a big help. One of the last minute prep ideas that work every time is to buy something packaged and have it already in the freezer or something that you just buy. One of the things that I think I've shared on a different podcast is one time I was running out of time and I bought mashed potatoes. I think it was from Costco or one of those stores. And my son was raving about the best mashed potatoes. And then all the other kids chimed in, like, what did you do different, Mom? And I'm like, yeah, I bought those. And they just said, just do that from now on. And I feel so guilty every time I buy them. But I just think to myself, the kids like it better than me peeling potatoes and mashing them and having them all ready. Not to say that I don't love homemade mashed potatoes, but these are made from real potatoes. For a quick cleanup, serve the appetizers and desserts on disposable platters. I have clear plastic plates that are disposable that I use for desserts, and I have them in all different sizes, and I pull them out for special occasions. I got them in bulk. And, I do have really nice dishes I use at Christmas time when I have less people, But sometimes at Thanksgiving, we have a huge crowd and I just don't have enough dishes. And then again, enlist help if someone wants to bring something over, a sign, something like sweet or salty, or better yet, just have them bring something and let it be a surprise. Friends, I want you to enjoy the holidays with your family and friends. Have a blessed time. And from all of us at the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network, and the Gurwitz family in particular, I pray you have a blessed Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, or whatever time of the year you're listening to this. God bless, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.